Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go.
And let's go. Let's go. This is Ballsy Uncut. Wherever you're consuming this, however you're consuming this, I do appreciate it. Speaking of consuming, let's get right to one of my sponsors. Now, Super Squeeze Seltzer, product of, as you see, their District Brewing Company. They have come on board and helped me put the billboard up on Sask Drive. I'm told it should be up today, right as you head towards Mosaic Stadium. So westbound on Sask Drive in downtown Regina. So check that out. It's the Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show. They're helping me with the billboard. So thanks to District Brewing. They've got passion fruit lime and mango lime in Saskatchewan liquor stores. Great group over there. District Brewing, businesses helping other businesses. I love it. Speaking of that, we've got Ward Tire Craft getting on board. 101 Dudney Avenue. You need tires. You want great customer service, including don't pay for 90 days. They've got to maintain your vehicle, extend the useful life of your vehicle. They've got a payment plan. You know, vehicles aren't exactly the best investment. They're not an investment. They're a necessary evil, let's be honest. But you got to get around. And yes, you can use a bike and everything, but let's be honest. I'm not a tree hugger. I use a vehicle and I like vehicles that run on petroleum. Am I against electric cars? No, but so you need to maintain your vehicle, get tires, maintain your vehicle over there at Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue. And you want to get yourself something to eat, you go to Stats, Mr. D, Stats, Cocktails, Dreams, and Cravings. Cravings was open. It was a restaurant near Home Depot in the East End in Regina. And it closed that location, but it's moved over. It's into Stats on Vic Avenue East Service Road. You go in there, you can get breakfast all day if you want. But of course, you can go in and watch the Edmonton Oilers. Game 6 on Friday right there at Stats, Cocktails, and Dreams, and Cravings. Because like this guy predicted, after they were down 3-0, people in my own inner circle, like my son and my cousin in Edmonton, who's a firefighter, told me I was batshit crazy. My buddies, the Nias brothers, Perry and Brad, said you're clueless, man. But then they went on to amend it, saying, no, we didn't say you're clueless because you picked the Oilers to win. We said you're clueless just in general. Well, they might not be wrong there. But anyway, yeah, after they were down 3-0, I thought the Edmonton Oilers would rally back because I didn't feel like it was a real 3-0 lead. And it proved to be the case. And Florida might as well not even bother showing up in Edmonton on Friday. That's a holiday. People will be decked out in jerseys, Star Wars outfits, glasses all lighted up or lit up, and it'll be wacko, man. They'll be drunk. I think my son's gonna go with my cousin Jason, and that's hilarious because both of those guys said we didn't stand a chance, and I'm the only guy in our group. I love you guys, but I was the only guy that said we were going to come back and force a Game 7, and they will force a Game 7 because Connor McDavid, I can't say single-handedly, but no, he single-handedly was responsible for dragging the Panthers back to Edmonton and for the second straight night spoiling their plans to hoist Lord Stanley. And I don't care how this ends, Connor McDavid needs to be the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. The first skating player on a losing team to win the Conn Smythe since I think it was Reggie Leach in 1975 with the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, here's a list of the players who have had multiple 4-point games in the Stanley Cup final. Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid. And I'll say right now, Wayne Gretzky's my favorite. Messier's my favorite Oiler of all time. Gretzky, obviously, and then McDavid. That's how I'd put 3. And then I'd probably put Doug Weight at 4. I've got his jersey hanging up here. I'll get to Doug Weight in a second. But, I mean, come on. That's the list of guys who have had multiple 4-point games in the Stanley Cup final. Here's the list of the guys who have done it consecutively in consecutive games, 4-point games. Connor McDavid and nobody else. Connor McDavid is the greatest offensive player that has ever put on a pair of skates to do what he does at full speed. Don't believe me? Watch the end of that 2-minute shift against the Florida Panthers. At the end of a power play, he dekes out 4 guys and passes it over to the old bucket of bones, Corey Perry, who chips it in for a goal. It's all McDavid. McDavid is the best player. It's not even close in the league now, but I do believe he's the best offensive talent we've ever seen play in the NHL, doing things at that speed. Now, you'll say, well, Gretzky and Lemieux didn't have the training. They didn't have the sticks. They didn't have all that stuff. You're right. You're 100% right about that. And I don't know. You can't really, I guess, compare eras. I don't like doing that. Gretzky dominated his era, and McDavid is pretty well dominating his era. But who would have thought a few games ago, Connor McDavid had 30-some points. And I remember sitting on the couch with my son. He said, well, Gretzky's record's 47. You think he'll get there? I said, he might get within like maybe 7 points. He legitimately has a chance to break the record of 47 points in a playoff run. Now, here's the interesting thing. Gretzky in the first round, they were best of 5. So that just shows you how great Gretzky is. But he did it with anticipation and slyness. McDavid does it with raw, unbelievable athleticism. The guy is a flat out stud. So I think if you're an Oiler fan, you can say that that Zach Hyman's the best free agent signing. The best trade in Edmonton Oilers history, and I don't care, it's my show, I'm an Oilers fan, I'm going to talk about it for a second. Chris Pronger, right now, probably the greatest trade for the Oilers. They gave up Eric Brewer, Doug Lynch, and Jeff Wojciechowski, the former Red Deer Rebel, for Pronger, got them to the Stanley Cup, and then he left the next year and won it with Anaheim. Then I'd say it's Matthias Ekholm, the second best trade in Oilers history. He comes over from Nashville for Tyson Barrie, who was great at the time doing the Oilers power play, but the Oilers replaced him with Bushbaum, Evan Bouchard. They also gave up Reed Schaefer, a 2023 first rounder, and a 2024 fourth rounder. That's a lot to give up, but hey, they replaced Barrie. Who knows what Schaefer's going to be? And the Oilers don't need draft picks. They're not in draft pick mode right now. All I ever hear is they're a lottery team, which they were, but the time is now. So that was a great trade. That's probably 1A and 1B for trades in Oilers history. Then the other one I'd probably say is the guy who's hanging on my wall here. Well, not the guy, but his jersey, Doug Wade for Esa Tikkanen, who went to the Rangers. But yeah, the Oilers, game number 6 in Edmonton. We are going to have Dave Jackson, the former NHL ref, who's the rules analyst on ESPN. He'll join us, and we're also expecting to be joined Friday by Jeremy Roenick. So JR and Dave Jackson will be on this show on Friday. So there you go. The Calgary Flames have made a trade, trading goalie Jacob Markstrom to the Devils. They retain 31% of his $6 million cap hit. Flames get defenseman Kevin Ball, spelled B-A-H-L, not B-A-double-L, like yours truly, a top 10 protected first-round pick in 2025. And now the Flames have 6 first-round selections over the next 3 drafts. They are in full rebuild mode in Calgary. Also a trade, Pierre-Luc Dubois. He went from Columbus, he went to Winnipeg, he went to LA, and now he's on the move to Washington for Saskatchewan boy Darcy Kemper, the goaltender who won the Stanley Cup with them a few years ago. Was that 2018 they won the Stanley Cup? 2019? Anyway, he is going now to Los Angeles, but boy, Suitcase Dubois, where there's smoke, there's fire. I've never been in any of the rooms he's been in, but Columbus, Winnipeg, LA, and now Washington. So, like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Jays hosting the Red Sox today. They've lost 7-3 and 4-3 to the Bo Sox. Try to salvage a game before they move on to Cleveland. WCBL, the first place Regina Red Sox are at Weyburn, Brooks at Saskatoon, Sylvan Lake and Swift-Current, Medicine Hat at Moose Jaw, and Lethbridge at Okotoks. It's all weather dependent, though. I'm sick of the rain already. I live in the prairies in Saskatchewan, not in frickin' Vancouver. CFL news and notes from Winnipeg. Still a question mark. Their boundary halfback, Nichols, and Brady Oliveira also still questionable for that game against the British Columbia Lions. Riders at practice, Bain Jr. and Jarrett Stearns were at the walkthrough, both guys. Well, Stearns took a huge pop at the end of the game on that game-tying drive in Hamilton, and Bain Jr. didn't play in the second half, but he's expected to play in this return match with the Hamilton Tiger Cats on Sunday at Mosaic Stadium. Still a lot of great tickets for that one too, by the way. Philip Blake is out long-term. He's been put on the long-term injured list. It's a quad injury apparently, and that's all we're being told by the coach. It's long-term. Ryan Sevier, though, has already stepped up. He was a guy that was signed in the offseason by Jeremy O'Day, and he's already been pressed into play, so his signing's already paid off. Of course, Ferland got kicked out in game one. He had to come in and sub in. Then he had to come in and sub in for Blake earlier in that game in Hamilton, and hung in there and did a decent job. Godber didn't practice today, and neither did Hardrick on the O-line for the Riders, but I think that's much ado about nothing. A reminder, we got the Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show. The billboard's going up here on Sask Drive, so you'll see it when you drive by. It's after every Rider game, home or away, and not just for Rider fans, it's for all CFL fans. We'll encourage Ticat fans to call in. We review the week that was, and my guest this week, my co-host, is going to be former Bomber, former Rider punter and season ticket holder, former Edmonton Elk, former Green Bay Packer, and former Super Bowl winning punter with the Seattle Seahawks, and now business owner in baseball and rugby. That would be John Ryan. He's going to join me for the post-game show to take your calls and to chat with you. Now, you can hit me up on all the social media pages and chat there. If you want to call, be sure to you can call in video-wise or audio-wise as well. And I do got to mention, too, we got a great show lined up. This next interview, it's Wednesday, and on Wednesdays, here or there, I like to do Where Are They Now Wednesdays. We're going to take a trip down memory lane with Chris Walby, the former Winnipeg Blue Bomber, played junior football in Winnipeg, went to Dickinson State in the U.S. He is going to join us to talk about his stories and about the season, as I do a thing called Ballsy's Best Bets. On Wednesday, we're going to morph that with Where Are They Now Wednesday, and the former Hall of Famer and CBC broadcaster are going to help me pick the games this week for week number 2. So far, I am 4-4 on the season. Last week, Craig Smith, the longtime scout, helped me. He went 3-1. I went 2-2. We're also going to hear from Regina Riot coach Chris Hattis. They're playing in the WWCFL Ladies Championship here against the Saskatoon Valkyries, the juggernaut team that's won it every year since 2019. They're playing at Leibel Field on Sunday at 7:30, sorry. So if you're leaving the Rider game, hopefully if you're a Rider fan, I don't care, but if you're a Rider fan, after a blowout win over the Tiger Cats, you're still in a good mood, drive by Leibel Field. It's supposed to be a great night, and give these ladies some respect, a chance to see them maybe win a championship, or the Saskatoon team continue their stranglehold atop the WWCFL. And before the show wraps up, we'll talk about the passing of Willie Mays, passing away at the age of 93. I think he's the best baseball player that's ever played. If not Willie Mays, who? Have your say. Hit me up on the various channels at Ballsy Uncut on YouTube, Facebook, and X, and even Instagram, and I'll answer your messages there. If it's not Willie Mays, who's the best baseball player of all time? He passes away at the age of 93. Oh, one other thing. Speaking of goats, there's a video going around, and I never know in today's day and age if it's true or not, if I'm going to get burned. But if it is, and I believe it is, it's awesome. There's a video that came out a couple months ago, Bill Belichick leaving a house kind of like on a side door, and he's shirtless, and he's still looking pretty good for 72. But they're saying now that's the video of him leaving his 24-year-old girlfriend's house, kind of sneaking out in the early morning hours. It's like, remember when people were like, when the girl, was she 19 or 20, and she was like trying to make Jaromir Jagr feel bad about sleeping with her, and he was like 46 or 47, and he's like, what? You're of age, and I'm 46, and you're 20. He's like, or 21. Like, come on, give me a break. Or maybe she's even 19, but she was of age. It's creepy, but I mean, come on. Same with Belichick. This is creepy, but he's 72 dating a 24-year-old. Why? Because he can. He's the GOAT. He is the GOAT. Absolute GOAT. Somebody should check him for some deflated balls, I'm thinking. Huh, Roger? Maybe you should test the PSI on old Billy Belichick. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to hear from Chris Walby, the former CFL great, former broadcaster with the CBC. I'll tell you what, folks, this is an unbelievable interview. It's one of the best that I've been a part of in 10 years, and it's coming up next. All right, so we're both media professionals, but man, have we booted this attempted interview around a few times. So I'm happy I get to talk to the Hall of Famer and former great broadcaster on the CBC, Chris Walby. Thanks for being patient with me with regards to this.
Well, you know what, Ballsy, it might have been my fault because as I took the headphones off the last time, and I don't use headphones for a long time, I saw there was a switch and I could go higher. So I think I probably just didn't turn it on properly. One of those things about using inferior helmets when I played, I got a little CTE, I think, because I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here we are. We finally got it done. You betcha, brother.
Hey, are you, let's start there. Are you worried about what football did to you?
Well, I did do a test. You know, it's funny. I did a test with a concussion study, CTE study, where they provided me with THC and some other products combined just to see if that had any effect on pain or loss of memory and stuff. And I did it for about 3 months. And aside from seeing beautiful colors in the sky, I'm not really sure if anything really changed. But, you know, it was good. But, yeah, you know what? I know that Matt Dunnigan has donated his, when he passes, his brain for study because he's got a concussion syndrome. I know he's dealing with it. I think we all have a form of it for sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind because I'll be saying something and I forget what I'm saying. I'll be working with you, Ballsy, and I forget to turn my headphones on. You know, all these little things that, hello, buddy.
Yeah, well, hey, it is what it is. But you wouldn't trade the memories for anything, I bet, right?
No, you know, it's funny, people say that to me. Look at your fingers. You broke every finger. Your both knees are shot. You got an artificial hip. But no, when you look back and just the way it was back then, we had such a family, much like they have created now in Bomberland, even though they're not doing that great. Mind you, I'll say this. I wish we had professional chefs. These guys today, getting a nice lunch by professional chef, they get breakfast, they get lunch. You know, we get spaghetti. We got spaghetti and we never got our per diem. We used to go to Cal and say, Cal, no, we want the per diem. I want to go and have a couple of cold ones after the game. I need the money, brother.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
Times have changed.
Robert Mims actually went to he told me he actually went to like a Jersey City before the game over at Polo Park Mall to buy socks for the game. And he was in his football pants, like before the game.
Hudson Bay, right across the street. It could have been a Sears, but I know that story is so good. Let Amy rest in peace.
Yeah.
They really control him as far as the equipment.
Yeah.
And so they'd say, listen, if you went through a pair of socks, can you believe that?
No.
That they would not supply you any more socks. We used to go to other places to get stuff. I mean, I think of all the other stuff that he did. Like we had shoes, and we were allowed certain shoes. And then Cal Murphy, God rest his soul, was working a deal with Adidas. And he said, I want shoes for my entire family. And the Adidas said, no, just for the players. Cal hung up. We never got shoes. We were wearing old shoes. It was crazy, I can tell you, the stuff back then. But, yeah, Robbie, I know Mimsy's in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
I believe he's a car salesman. Great running back, great guy.
Yeah.
please pass on my hello to him.
Yeah.
He was a good cat, man.
Yeah, he was. Okay, so let's talk about the skull cap. I've been watching my kid playing down in North Dakota, and they've been using the skull caps in practice.
Yeah.
I know it's coming up here, and players can wear them in a game if they want to. Haven't seen anybody yet. Would you?
No, not a chance. I call him the upside down flower planter. I mean, I was talking to Darren Bombing on our podcast, the Bonfire Sports, just get that in.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, I guess they can catch each other. I know they're to prevent serious injury and try and limit the amount of contact that you take to the head, but the helmets are so good nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the helmets are way better than ours. And I love telling stories, Ballsy, and I'll tell you what. I had a helmet, and we were playing in Hamilton. And my Hamilton, they were just little strips of air in it. They had 5 strips, almost like a zebra inside my helmet. And my helmet was leaking air all the time. And I was like, okay, I go to see Len Amy, the equipment guy, and I go, Lenny, I need some air in this helmet, man. And he goes, oh, yeah. So he starts pumping it in, and I hear it coming out the other side. I go back in the game. I go on a blitz, pick up a blitz guy by the name of 2-8 Alapati.
Yep.
One of the biggest, my God, I got to tell you, truthfully, I saw concussion. That's the first time that I actually saw stars. Yeah. And the funniest part is, I lined up in their huddle. And I'm standing in their huddle, and Campbell, the defensive lineman, kicks me in the ass and goes, hey, fat ass, your huddle's over there. It was a true story. So I waddle over to my offense, get in the huddle, come back. Our training staff was fantastic. Here, take a little smelling salts. You're back in.
Yeah.
It's just a different game.
Different world.
Crazy times, man.
Tune Alapate was the guy. I remember watching a game as a fan, and he hit Blake Marshall so hard. You remember Blake Marshall? He was a mini fridge out there, and they hit each other, and you could hear it all the way up on the west side grandstands at Taylor Field. What a thunderous hit. That guy was tough.
Oh, I never had a harder hit in all my days. And I went against guys like Lloyd Lewis. Yeah. Another great guy that we became teammates after. But, another guy with a big coconut head. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying big heads. Yeah. They led with their head. You're always going to be hitting your head. When I was in Montreal in 1981, do you believe this? They made us headbutt telephone poles.
Are you
to teach us to keep our head up.
Wow.
Yeah, we had to. I'm serious, man. We would line up and headbutt telephone poles. That's how stupid. It's just crazy what we used to do back in the old days.
Walby, I'm thankful you even know how to put on a headset, let alone turn one on.
Well, I agree with you, man. Ballsy, I don't know what's going on sometimes when I think about that. I was in such awe as a rookie, just because of my teammates. You got Billy White Shoes Johnson, Vince Ferragamo.
Yep.
Junior Ayu, who is the big Hawaiian who scared the bejesus out of me. Every time he'd walk by my locker and stare at you, I would grab my wallet and go, here it is. I'll just give my wallet. I don't want any trouble, buddy. Have yourself a good time.
Hey, you mentioned 3 names, 3 guys that played in the NFL at an accomplished level. We hear a lot about this. The CFL is Bush League. It's inferior.
No.
Talk about that, because I've always been a defender of this league. I think probably your top 6-7 guys on every roster in the NFL are elite. And then after that, NFL and CFL are the same.
I agree with you 100%. They're back down there. They just fill the roster so much. They got a practice roster that makes $200,000-$300,000 a week.
Yeah.
It's a month. I don't even know what it is anymore, but it's crazy money compared to what we were getting. No, I think that I've seen so many guys come up here. I'll use the one guy that I played against in my first ever game, in Mark Gastineau.
Yes.
Here's a guy, played for BC, got brought up to BC, was going out with that actress that went out with Sylvester Stallone after. I played him first game, and I tell you what, I was so nervous because here's a guy that was a leading sack guy or getter on the New York Jets. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, oh, boy, this is going to be a battle. And then me and my buddy Nick Benjamin, who was playing beside me, another guy, rest in peace. My God, we're saying that a lot today. We kicked the crap out of him. We really kicked it. He came up here and actually thought, because he's playing in the CFL, as he called it, a Mickey Mouse league, that he was just going to run over everybody, set a world record on getting sacks, hitting the quarterback. he never got a sniff. And as a matter of fact, he didn't last very much longer after that.
No.
I think he went home. That was it.
You were referring to Bridget Nielsen, who was the...
That's who I remember. Yes.
Yeah. She was with Drago in Rocky IV. That's right. And that's when Stallone
That's right.
was her. But anyway, the best thing about our league is, or one of the great things about our league, and I can say that because I've been around it for almost 30 years, is, as a media guy, is it's a second chance league. And a guy on that team you talked about, 1991, Doug Flutie, he was cast off by the Patriots and the Bears. He comes here. He helped save 3 franchises, let's be honest, BC, Calgary, and Toronto, but it gets him back into the NFL where he has a pretty good career after that.
Yeah, and you know what? Still to this point, I'm so angry when he played. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, San Diego.
Yep.
I believe it was with the Chargers.
Yep.
He should have played that playoff game. They benched him because, again, he's mini, too small, not efficient enough. But everywhere he's gone, he's a winner.
Yeah.
I mean, the greatest quarterback to ever play in this league, six-time, MOP. And I think that had they not placed him in that playoff game, they would have won that game.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion. I watch him. Every time we had to play him, I know we played him in the 92 Grey Cup, and him and Johnny Huffnagel, they came up with a game plan. And even though I hung Johnny Huffnagel on a hook when he was a quarterback with me, they just threw the ball deep, and I think it was Sponges was catching balls.
Yeah.
And we have a good defense, but they were getting to Flutie within 2 seconds. He was getting rid of that ball. Yeah. He's just that good.
He is.
He's the X factor in every game, I think.
I'm going to help you with your memory. Now, you're partially right. He was with San Diego. They were shitty, but he went to Buffalo, and that's the game. The Music City.
Oh, that's right. And the quarterback, the other quarterback's name was Johnson. There you go.
That's right. That was the Music City Miracle where Tennessee threw the ball back on the kickoff and went for a touchdown. That's another thing I want to talk about. We want to dick around with the kickoffs and all this stuff. This is the shit that makes the CFL what it is. Can we just leave the game alone a little bit? Please just let's let it breathe, man. It's the greatest form of football on the planet Earth, the CFL game, the Canadian game.
Yeah. It drives me nuts when they try and improvise the game to make it more exciting. Yeah, I remember the old, the fact that, a DB can't hit a guy after 5 yards. You got these slot backs running at you full speed. Boy, if you miss your jam or hitting the guy, he's gone for a touchdown.
Yeah.
We've made it such an offensive league because everybody believes you want to see offense. I personally love to see a good defensive game. I have no problem with that. But, I mean, the rules with the chip and the football, why are we trying to get so crazy with these new – what's it going to tell me?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't – what is it? How hard he kicks? I don't give a rat's ass how hard he kicks a football.
Well, you know what?
You know what I mean?
We're talking here early about your helmet and all that stuff. It must have drove you nuts in the last game. The rule was called by the letter of the law. And by the way, the referee is Wade Miller's brother, Richie Miller. The rider guy recovers the fumble, but his helmet's off, and so Hamilton retains possession. 2 plays later, they score a touchdown. But it's like, what's the guy supposed to do? He's laying on the ground. The ball falls in his hands. It's football. It's freaking football.
Well, you are 100%, Michael, and the thing that really drives me nuts is these roughing the passer games. I mean, we protect our quarterback. Look, they never get hit in practice.
Yeah.
The only chance to get ever hit is in a game. And I'll tell you right now, even if you come in contact, I agree. You lead helmet to helmet, you knock him, that's a penalty.
Right.
But these ones where you just brush his helmet with your hand, you're coming in full speed to sack the guy. And the other one is, when you hit the quarterback, don't be too rough with him. Don't hit him too hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? You don't want to blow an appendix or anything on him, the poor quarterback. He's only making $600,000 a year while you're eating meat potatoes on the back porch. No, you got to hit the quarterback, man.
And that's something that the league hopefully can get to one day, because it is kind of like in the NFL, the quarterbacks are making the quarterback should make the most money in any league. Let's be honest. But in the NFL, they're making $50 million, but the left tackle's probably still making $6-7 million. So he's still a millionaire. In the CFL, the quarterback's making 500 G's and the left tackle's making $65,000-70,000. That's a little bit different, right?
Yeah, it is different. I mean, way back when, the boys didn't make a lot of money, and you had to work an off-season job. Yeah. I was a school teacher. Hard to believe it. I took care of your youth. That's probably why they're all screwed up today. But, I would make kids And they still come up to me and they go, Mr. Walby, remember teaching me? And I go, what class? They go, language arts. I go, oh, here's a myth. And then they go, you made me do push-ups. I would make the kids do push-ups in the room if they were mouthing off. I just had a good time. I love teaching school. I was very blessed to be able to do it for, I subbed for 10 years, taught school for 1, and then went to pharmaceuticals. But it's just crazy. But you know what you mentioned your son plays in North Dakota. Who's he play for?
Well, put your camera down, bro. Your camera went, and now I'm just seeing the top of your head. Can you put your camera up there?
Oh, God. Sorry, buddy.
I love it, Paul.
We're having more fun. Look at that.
You're the best.
What the hell? Oh, man.
This is the best.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Oh, it's crooked now. Here I am.
You worked in TV. That's crazy. Hey, my son was. Listen, here's the story. I don't want to make this about my kid, but you brought it up, so it's good. My son played at UND for 4 years.
Nice.
He graduated with an environmental science degree. His draft year is next year, and he said, Dad, I'm going to be a starter down here, but they rotate 4 safeties, and I need snaps. So he wants to get acclimatized back to the Canadian game because when he went down there, he was a receiver.
Okay.
Now he's a DB, so he's going to the UFC this year to play Canadian rules football. So that's kind of
well, you know what? Good program.
Yep.
UFC's always had a good program. I mean, that's good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I played in the States as well. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you played junior. You played junior football with the Rods, and then went to Dickinson State, right?
Yeah, I played 2 years with the Rods after I got cut unceremoniously from the Winnipeg Hawkeyes. As I drive down with my buddy, and I'm just a young kid out of high school. I was 6'7", I think 190 pounds. I mean, you want to talk about a shadow. And listen, I'm not even going to lie about it. I was terrible. I was terrible. But I mean, I practiced there. As I'm going with my boys, having a good time. You know, you're with your buddies. Let's go. And the coach pulls me aside and goes, Kris, come here. I'm like, oh, I think I'm really going to tell me something good. He goes, yeah. We don't do this very often, but you're cut. Pack your bag. Cut me. When they don't even cut guys, I had to stand. And, of course, I got no ride home. So now I got my garbage bag with my stuff, and I'm sitting at the edge of practice watching him practice. So I went and I started lifting weights. That's where it was my motivational thing. And then I said, I'm going to go to the Rods. Not going to go back to the Hawkeyes or anything. I'm going to go to the Rods. Rods gave me an opportunity. I got a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and you know that the rest is history. But that's
an amazing story, Kris, because you're a Hall of Famer. You're one of the greatest bombers ever to play, one of the greatest CFL players, and it all started by getting cut and learning that you had to go through some adversity.
Well, exactly. I mean, I played hockey too, Ballsy. You know, that's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Of course, that did not end well for me, as I got arrested and.
For what?
Sitting in jail with I got arrested. I was sitting in jail with my hockey equipment on, except for my skates. Yeah. I had to go to trial for 2 days.
Did you go?
Found guilty of assault causing bodily harm. It was on the ice, big brawl with the Dauphin Kings up here, and I'm actually friends with the guy that I fought. But back then, it was crazy. It was a bench clearing before the game.
Wow.
And so it was a free-for-all. But I didn't have any help from my teammates because some of my teammates, namely Kim Cosman, who I love the guy, said, he's nuts. He was even hitting our own players. Well, that goes out there. You know, the judge is like, well, you're 6'7".
Yeah.
This guy, I say he's 6'3", and he challenged me. How am I supposed to say no?
Yeah, no.
Anyway, that was a fun time for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Hey,
let's
get to some quick football here on this. Where are they now? Wednesday with Chris Walby. Okay, are the Bombers as bad as their 0-2 record indicates? What is going on there with the juggernaut Bombers?
I think just the fact of roster changes, new guys, no Brady Oliveira, losing Kenny Lawler. Now they've lost Miles Fox, Celestin Haba, their defensive end. They've had a lot of guys come in. Mind you, that Carrick Wheatfall kid came in for Lawler, had 111 yards receiving. Obviously, a lot of it in one pass. But it was interesting, Ballsy, to watch the little interview they had with Zach Collaros earlier this morning, who's trying to he's falling on the sword. It's my fault. I need to be better. I need to get rid of the ball quicker. But yet, I don't think his offensive line is as good a unit as they were last year. And I can't believe nobody's picked up Jeff Gray.
Yeah.
He was a starting left guard. He's just sitting around. I know he's got some kind of degree that he can build. You know, he's making more money doing engineering than he would playing, but he loves the game. And then, of course, losing Jamarcus Hardrick to Saskatchewan, who's a big emotional leader for this team. So they just need, I think they need people to step up. It can't always be Adam Bighill. You need other guys, other guys to show.
The guys you've referenced, sorry for cutting you off, but the guys you've referenced, see, the thing with Tom Brady is Tom Brady's lulled everybody into a sense that they can play forever. Have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, are they getting caught by Father Time because Father Time's undefeated?
Well, they are. I think they're the oldest team in the CFL.
Yeah.
Per age, but I mean, that's tough to say because I remember Cal would say the same thing, but Cal liked the veterans. He loved veterans. Mm-hmm. Until you got too much money demanded, then he would get rid of you.
Yeah.
That was the thing, right? I mean, but having said that, I think they're a little long in the tooth, but I still think they're very good.
Yeah.
And I know that Zach will rebound. I know a lot of people. I drove by Concordia Hospital yesterday. It's in Winnipeg here.
Yeah.
And there was about a lineup of about 11 to 12 people getting their ankles casted from jumping off the old bandwagon. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know where I was going with that.
It's fun.
And, I agree that people get it's only 2 games. Granted, Ottawa, they thought that was a bingo spot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had Montreal. I think Montreal's very good. But their defense is not playing as good. Now people are saying, Richie Hall, him in Saskatchewan, one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life, a true gentleman. He gives way to Jordan Younger. New defensive scheme. Is it working? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I guess time will tell.
Yeah.
They've lost a guy that I really liked in Jackson Jeffcoat. I like that guy, but I don't know if he retired because of salary.
Yeah.
Or he just wanted to get on with his life somewhere else. So that's a good question to ask him. But yeah, I don't know. To answer your question in a short answer, wow. I think they're going to rebound, but this week, Ballsy, what a test, BC.
Well, let's talk about that. I want to get into, I call it Ballsy's best bets. I had Craig Smith help me pick against me last week. He went 3-1, I went 2-2, so I'll go with you here. Let's start with that game. If the Bombers don't win, the old saying is it's going to get late very early for Winnipeg, even though it's a long season. You don't want to be 0-3. The BC Lions come in here, and the Lions are going to be pissed off because they've been knocking on the door in the West for the last couple of years. I got the Lions winning this game. What do you have, Bombers, Lions?
Well, boy, you're going to put me on a spot here, man. I really, if they keep playing the way they are, I can see the BC, did you watch the first game that BC lost?
Yes.
Their offensive line got destroyed.
It did.
It got totally destroyed. And they actually picked out a kid, I think is Neville, who's a 6'9" guard, just got eaten alive.
Yes, he did.
I don't know how you do that. No sacks against Calgary in that big victory. Mind you, you can see the versatility of Vernon Adams Jr. getting out of trouble, escaping pressure.
Yeah.
I love the way he throws. He's got a quick release as quick as anybody. Boy, I tell you, that's a tough one. I'm almost leaning toward BC, buddy. I have to almost say that. I'm leaning toward BC.
Yeah, okay. Let's go with the game that kicks off the week, the Ottawa Red Blacks against Montreal. Give Ottawa credit, man. Drew Brown wasn't flashy, but the one thing he did do is he protected the football. But I don't see Ottawa going into Montreal, the banner raising, and the Alouettes look.
Yeah.
I thought the Alouettes last year were like the Riders in 89 when they were 9-9. They got on a magical run and won the whole thing. But they have proven this year that they're like, Cody's playing the best he's played, maybe, and Walter Fletcher's a weapon. I got Montreal beating Ottawa.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. Listen, I love what they've done in Ottawa. I like Drew Brown. I like their backup Crump.
Yeah,
I think they have a lot of weapons, and they don't even have Devontae, the running back, in right now. But that other kid ran the ball pretty hard.
Yeah, he did.
It's the old saying: one door closes, another one opens. I know Montreal lost a couple receivers, but that Tyson Philpott he's an up-and-coming star.
Yeah.
But I got to tell the guys at TSN, stop talking about him and talking about that Grey Cup catch. I'm almost going to throw my macaroni salad up. I can't take it anymore, man. You know what? Get something new to talk about, for God's sake.
That's a good.
And you know what? Another thing that pisses me off, Balls, when are they going to start showing the O-line and D-line battles in the trenches?
I know.
They never show it.
I agree.
It's all Watch the quarterback, the pretty guy, throw the ball. What a great catch by the receiver. Oh, that DB was good cover too. He came in and made a nice stop. Meanwhile, the guys down there who say can wear those stupid upside down planter helmets, they're banging and banging and banging. And then I see. Even I watched the last game. Some guy came, one of the running backs came and cut on one of our blitzers.
Yeah.
And they didn't even bring it up. Bring it up, show it, educate people.
Yeah.
That's one thing when I did CBC. I made sure we had one camera in the pit. You got to have a camera. That's Walby's rant for the day.
And you're right. And you see that with a lot of broadcasts. You don't see a lot of offensive linemen or defensive linemen being broadcasters. One of the great broadcasters of all time in just sports in general and football was Dan Deerdorf back when he used to be, and he was an offensive lineman with the Cardinals all those years. You don't see a lot of those. That's a good point, man. That's a really good point, actually, to be quite honest with you.
I lucked out by, getting to work with Chris Cuthbert and Mark Lee, and of course the legend, and he used to call the Olympic Games. Come on, he passed away. Help me on this one. Don Whitman. Don Whitman was the guy that got me into CBC, him and Scott Oak.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you this real quick. I love anecdotes. I love stories. Give me a beer and a campfire.
That's good, buddy.
We were at the first game ever against Calgary. Calgary-Edmonton. And I'm sitting in there, and it's in Calgary, and Whitman says to me, how you feeling? I go, well, a little sphincter's a little tight, but not too bad. He goes, that's a shitty tie. That tie looks like crap. It's going to look like crap on TV. And now I'm like, what? It's going to shine. It's going to reflect everywhere. I go, oh, my God. Well, I can't change it. So then we go. He goes, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do rehearsal. So what I want you to do about Walby is I want you to talk about the running backs and the receivers. I'll hit the quarterbacks up. All right. Do the rehearsal exactly like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
He does the quarterbacks, I do receivers, running backs. 5, 4, 3, 2. You're live. Walby, tell me about those quarterbacks. He throws me totally under the bus. I blah, 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 blah. Thank God my language arts skills came to forth and I got rid of it. But then he goes to me, that's what you need to know about TV. Expect the unexpected.
That is.
But he was I love the guy, man. He was great. Yeah. And then Mark Lee, another great guy.
Yeah.
Chippy, we call him Chippy because he always laughs like a chipmunk. He's always like, I love those guys, man.
That's awesome, man. You do many dinners because you are the dinner. You be a dinner king, buddy. You clean up.
I love to tell stories. Yeah, but I'm full of, and it's funny because it's about the guy you're doing or who's talking to you. Like I'll get questions and they'll hit the old Rolodex and I'll remember the story. But that's how I like it. I mean, like when you were bringing up stuff and I'm thinking, okay, and there's a story about, Mimsy and his socks.
Yeah.
Cal Murphy. I remember we were trying to curb alcoholism. No more drinking. We're going to straighten out this team. We were like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we brought a tub of beer in after every game. So did everybody else. But I'm going to do something different. Now, you're allowed 2 beer after every game, but you have to sign them out with the Lenamy, the aforementioned equipment guy.
Yeah.
But better get your pen ready because if you like a 7-Up, you have to forego one of your beer. We're like, what? What the hell is this? So this goes on. We meet the Labatt rep, Jeep Woolley, legend himself. Jeeper, how come we got no beer? He goes, well, what are you talking about? I'm giving you guys like 8 or 9 24s. There's a lot of beer. Hey. A week later, we catch the coaches taking all the beer, putting it in their trunks to take to the lake. You sons of bitches. I tell you what, I was pissed off.
Wow.
Oh, I tell you.
Wow.
So finally, Miles Garrell and myself, we corner Charlie Salmons, who was helping out all the time. He was our bus driver, too. And we got him in the back room. We go, Charlie, this ain't working. He goes, well, I got to take orders from the boss. I go, well, you better take orders from us now. So all of a sudden, Len Amy's wondering where the beer is. Charlie Salmons fills his whole cart and brings it right down to the boys.
There you go.
We got our beers back, boys.
There you go. Hey, Toronto and Edmonton, the Elks can't get out of their own way. Like they've got some talent, but they can't win. And so that's going to be interesting. McLeod Bethel Thompson going back to Toronto, and Cameron Dukes played real well his first game as a quarterback against a real good BC Lions defense.
Yeah, and I thought that Cam Dukes played extremely well. Threw the ball well, on target, no panic. Usually these young quarterbacks that want to get happy feet, start dancing, they take off. I was very impressed with him. McLeod Bethel Thompson, going back, as you say, to Toronto. This is one of those weird games for me because I really think that Edmonton is better than their 0-2 record.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost want to go with Edmonton, but I'm going to go with Toronto again. But I want to ask you a question.
Yep.
What happens to Sean Oakman, and why has nobody picked this guy up?
I have no idea. But that also
6'9".
Yeah. As we talk here, nobody's picked him up. But I'll tell you this, Chris. That speaks to the stud D line Toronto has. When you can
they have a great line.
Oakman, like Jake Serezna, talk about him. He's a killer. That guy's a killer.
I love Jake Serezna. I love what they got doing on that line. They also have a guy that I think he got Player of the Week, and he does the belly rub after a sack. And you gotta love a guy that rubs his belly. Anybody who rubs his belly is a beautiful man. He drinks a lot of beer. He reminds me of Santa. I love it, man. Yeah. It's always about giving.
I think that's Brinkman. He's going to be a
Brinkman. That's him.
He's going to be a stud. I got Toronto. I agree with you. And then the last game here, before we get to pick the Riders and Hamilton, just talk about, did you like those back-to-back games? Like, you don't really, I don't say you have to prepare, because you always got to prepare, but you know what the opponent, and it's really intense, isn't it? That back-to-back.
Oh, and I remember somebody telling me some crap that, we won't put all our offensive plays out there in the first game so we have some in the next game. No, you run your offense, you run your defense like you have, and then you make adjustments. The only good thing is you get to play them really quick.
Yeah.
So you can correct the mistakes and get back. I thought Bo Levi.
Wow.
I mean, he threw the ball. He looked good. He really looked good.
I'll say this.
And it's unfortunate.
I'll say this, Chris. I think early on, we're only 2 weeks in, but your comeback players of the year already are the Graybeards, Trevor Harris and Bo Levi Mitchell. They both look good.
Yeah, I'm really happy for both of them. I thought they threw the ball extremely well. Saskatchewan, as you call them, the cardiac kids, fourth quarter boys, they love to come back, and you can't write them off, and that's good. And that's because I think they've got a great coach. I'm a big fan of Corey Mace. I know he was very good in Toronto. I know, he was in Calgary. I think he's done a great job of just allowing people, treating them like men. You can't rule with an iron fist. You have to give a little leeway. But if you get a guy that's a little crazy, then you got to get rid of him.
I'll tell you, Walby.
But I think the players love this guy.
I'll tell you, Walby, you're absolutely right. There's another guy on that staff that I've been pushing for about 4 or 5 years. He's the offensive coordinator. You call him Pissant. You can tell him why he's called Pissant. But Mark Mueller is a guy that I think is a head coach in waiting one day. He has got your kind of personality. He comes from great stock with the grandfather being
Ronnie Lancaster.
I mean, this guy's growing up around football. He's forgot more about football, and he's made, I don't know if these are overblown or not. You know more than me, but it seems like the Riders have made some great second half adjustments offensively both games.
Yes. I know the run game isn't where they want it right now. I know Thor, AJ Ouellette is one of their biggest attractions or additions this year. Mark Mueller, Pissant, as you say, I mean, we love him because I hung around with his dad, Larry, who was on the board of directors at one time with Saskatchewan. But we were doing the last Grey Cup in Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. And there's old Mark, and he's our DD, and he's driving us to every bar, and we're loving this kid. He's just a great kid. I got to hang around here with him a lot and watch his development. Remember, he was a quarterback, so he's smart as it is right now, right? He played for University of Regina.
Yeah.
He just comes from great stock, as you say, Ronnie Lancaster's grandson. Always hung around. Some of his biggest influences, think about it, Danny McManus, all these quarterbacks he hung around with his dad when he was coaching. So, yeah, I'm a big fan. I hope he does very well. I think that you're right, though. The adjustments they make have allowed them to come back in the fourth quarter, which is amazing because I thought they were done. What is going to happen to this team when they do get a run game? I think they're going to be even deadlier.
Okay, so let's
because right now,
before we get to the pick, I want to bring this up because they had Andrew Harris on the show yesterday, and he was talking about chemistry between the running back and the offensive line from the running back's perspective. What's it like as an O lineman blocking? Because you blocked for James Sykes, Willard Reeves, Robert Mims. You had some great guys, but what's it like working up a chemistry? Because you look at Ouellette. Ouellette's a horse. But right now, he hasn't got on track. 29 carries for like 68 yards or something like that. So talk about that from a chemistry standpoint.
Well, I think, just being able to wait and see if the hole develops. A lot of times the running backs can't just take the ball 100 miles an hour straight ahead because the blocks haven't developed yet. So through the time, the chemistry of the O-line, the blocking schemes, you get more, understand, I got to take a stutter step to the right, take a step to the left, and then hit the hole. You can't, and Ouellette's one of those guys, north-south, 100 miles an hour. But we had a guy, Pat Cantner.
Mm-hmm.
We called him a Spike. The reason we call him Spike is because you had almost, I would have took one of those planter helmets and put it on my back. He would always hit you in the back. Like I think it seemed like he closed his eyes. Hell of an athlete, hell of a running back. But we'd go, Spike, what are you doing? Oh, I just got the ball and took off. Yeah, in my ass. He'd hit us all over the bloody place, man.
Yeah. Hey.
But, yeah, I think Ouellette needs to just mix it up. But I like the other kid. See, I'm a big fan of that Hickson.
Yeah, Hickson, yeah.
I think they got to mix it up. I don't understand why they both are not touching the ball.
Well,
what a combination.
Hickson hasn't even been on the roster yet. I'd like to.
That doesn't make sense to me. That's one thing I don't think. That's not smart.
I'd like to see a combination like a thunder and lightning type of deal.
Yeah, I would too. I love that we had. I never played with them, but I remember they had our little running back, number 1.
Charles Roberts.
What the hell was his name?
Charles Roberts.
Huh?
Charlie Roberts.
Charles Roberts and Mike Sellers.
Yeah.
Thunder and lightning.
Yeah.
And we get Big Mike Sellers get well. He had a heart transplant. Yeah. Hard to believe, eh? Oh, my God. Wow. We are getting old, brother. We're getting old. I'm telling you, it's getting scary.
We are getting old.
The only thing we got going on this podcast is we both have bald heads.
Hey,
that's what's nice, man.
And you're a Hall of Famer, and I'm happy to ride your coattails. Okay, so let's make this pick. Hamilton, Saskatchewan. I talk about this all the time. You got to build early season equity because things are, as much as I talked about things getting late early for the Bombers, if the Riders go 3-0 in a tough West Division, they have got a nice step forward to already looking at maybe, having an inside track at a home playoff game. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's not. You got to build this early season equity. I got the Riders winning this one on home turf too. Well,
that's going to be really interesting because it depends to me. If Bo plays like he did last week,
mm-hmm.
and of course you got Trevor over there, and if Tim White doesn't stop, if he catches a few of these balls he's dropping, very uncharacteristic.
Yeah,
I think Hamilton's got a great shot. I like their running back in Butler.
Yeah,
I think they run the ball extremely well. They got a tough defense. I'm leaning toward, and I hate to say it, but I'm leaning toward Hamilton, brother.
Well, I don't care. I'm not. I don't cheer for the Riders.
No, I don't
cheer for the Riders anymore. That's fine. But I will say this. The reason why I picked the Riders is this. Hamilton secondary minus Stavros Katsatonis, who's a great free safety. And I think Jamal Peters was a nice signing. He doesn't run real well anymore, but he thinks the game well as a veteran guy. But their secondary, not great. I know the Riders secondary didn't play great, but I expect them to be better in this game. That's where I see the difference maybe.
Well, there was obviously some breakdowns with Marcus Sales just coming over from BC. We played him in Winnipeg. He was an all-star at Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I think he's going to, round into, as he gets more comfortable with the communication between the DBs in Saskatchewan. I think Saskatchewan's got a great team. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think you can live throwing the ball every down. I think they have to get the run game going. Whether they insert Hickson or they decide there's 2-0, we can just run with what we got.
Mm.
But I think that they'd be a much more dangerous team bringing in another running back.
Well,
that's just my opinion. And Mark Mueller, if you listen to me, you little pissant, that's what you got to do.
Well, he's on right after you, so we'll fill him in. I'll fill him in. He'll be on right after you. Hey, Walby, this has been one of my favorite Where Are They Now segments. I can't wait to have you on again sometime. Now that we got the technology figured out.
Ballsy, I love this. It was really good. It was good stories, good fun, and anytime, just give me a dingle, and hopefully we'll get this thing straightened out.
I'm all for helping guys out. So you and Darren Bombing tell us where we can find your stuff at.
We do a podcast day before every game covering the Bombers and the team they're playing against. It's called bonfiresports.ca.
Awesome.
It's doing really good, brother. But it's a pleasure to be with you, Ballsy, and I look forward to next time.
Well, anybody that knows me knows I'm a big fan of all types of football, and we're going to talk some female football here now in Saskatchewan. And this would be Chris Hattisbeck. He is the coach of the Regina Riot football team going into a championship weekend here coming up against Saskatoon. Congratulations on the big victory against Calgary.
Thanks, Ballsy. Appreciate it. And thanks for having me on and always supporting the team.
Yeah, so talk about that game against Calgary and winning that one to get to this championship.
Yeah, it was good. It was our first time ever playing in Calgary. Actually, we've played them a few times in some championship games before. So been a while since we played them, but went well. Obviously came out with the shutout, so happy about that. Had a good day on offense at times, especially in the first half, and looking forward to this weekend.
So what's the strength of this team, your team?
Yeah, I would say our passing game is definitely our strength. Our quarterback, Amy Kowalski's had an incredible year. She's thrown for over 1,200 yards. And offense, in an amateur football, you typically have a run-heavy offense. We are definitely the opposite. So, and on defense, we're pretty sound all around. Definitely have some high-caliber athletes at every position. So we're getting some bodies back, which is awesome, and should be good.
Now, so talk about, what is this, 14 years coaching for you now?
That's right, yeah.
So talk about some of the rewarding things you get from that, from coaching these ladies.
Yeah, it's been a long time coaching this team in a variety of roles. And, one of the best things is just seeing how much they improve from day to day, even practice to practice. Something you maybe don't see with athletes that have been playing for a long time. You get a lot of these females that have never played football before or have only played for a year or two. So you get to really coach them and see that progress more than some other teams.
And how are you seeing the progress, speaking of that word, in the women's, on the women's side of thing in the sport of football?
Yeah, our roster is one of the biggest we've ever had, definitely up there with our years in, around that 2017, 2018 teams where we won the championship. So we're excited about that. It took a lot of hard work from our coaching staff, our board, our players and recruiting as well. And, we're team's in a good spot. We're very happy with where we are and definitely ready to host the championship on Sunday.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a second. Now, this isn't so does your interest level in women's football, because I've talked to Len Antonini and even the guys up in Saskatoon, when the Riders are doing well, then interest rises. Is that the same here?
I think so. I mean, obviously we know with the Riders and when they do well, the whole province is doing well. So with them, supporting women's football in Saskatchewan as well as Football Sask, it's really done a lot for us. We're very fortunate to have the support that we have from the Riders and from Football Sask compared to other teams in the league. And it definitely raises that interest as well. Any
different coaching men or boys versus girls or ladies, so to speak?
It's different in some ways. You got to coach more specific, especially like I mentioned, lots of new players that haven't been playing for a long time. So depending on what age level you coach, there's some differences, but for the most part, they're all football players and, football is football at the end of the day.
But in terms of like wording or mentality or how you phrase things or anything like that, I'm not trying to diminish that they're women. You have to treat them differently, but I mean, there's two different species there, right?
For sure. They definitely ask why a lot more, which is awesome as a coach. They want to know, they won't just like, okay, here's a drill, run it. They want to know what does this do for us? Where can we apply this? Which we get asked that a lot more than we would with the guys for sure, which is awesome.
So Saskatoon, the Valkyries, you've played them. They're a juggernaut team for years, but just talk this year for a minute. They are, they beat you twice this year. How do you feel about going into this one?
Obviously we're excited. We feel good about things. We have practice week coming up, very important for us. First game this year was closer. It was a tough game at home here at Libel. Very good game. And then a little bit rougher one up in Saskatoon after that. But, we always talk about how hard it is to beat a team 3 times. And, we know it's going to be a close game no matter what. Championship against our rival. It'll be close. It'll be a fun game.
What did they do so well that they were able to be at the top year after year after year? It's a run since 2019 so far.
Yeah, they've had a very great core of athletes on their team. A lot of Team Canada players, very similar to us. Same thing. They have a great board. Have a great president. We're very fortunate. It's very similar in a lot of ways like that. They're a bit older team than we are, for sure. Our average age is closer to that 20, 21, and they're probably a little bit older. They've had a lot of great athletes playing since that 2018, 2017 season that have kept playing, kept growing, and that's why they have such a good core.
Is there an age limit in this football?
No age limit. Nope. For us, we're 16 and up. Saskatoon, I believe, is 18 and up, but the league allows for players 16 and no age limit. So.
And the last interesting question, the WWCFL championship is held here, but Saskatoon, I'm assuming, has the better record. Is it just flip-flop? Like, how does that work? Is there a bidding process? Like, why do you get the game?
Yeah, things changed a little bit with the league this season. We unfortunately had a team that had to drop out in Alberta, so there was only 2 teams there. The championship was supposed to be in Alberta originally, but the playoff structure changed where the second place team traveled to play the Alberta winner, and whoever won that game got to host the final. That gave Alberta a chance to host still, but we ended up winning that game on the weekend here, so we get the right to host.
So the Riders play at 5, and hopefully for your sake, the Riders win because people might be in a celebratory mood. And if they're not tired of football, they can, on their way home, or make a detour and drive by Liable Field and check out your game.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to be in touch with the Riders. Hope they can help us out and mention it at the end of the game. I know they got a big game against Hamilton coming up, so we're hopeful to get some of the fans leaving Mosaic, stop by Libel. Maybe don't take the green off if you can. That'd be awesome. But we're hoping we can get some fans out after.
Yeah, and home cooking for you guys at Libel. If the first game was tight, maybe home cooking works to your advantage.
That's right. It's a beautiful facility. Like you said, Len Antonini, they do such a good job there. He supports us so much, and we're very thankful to have Libel and play all our home games there this year.
Well, good on you. Good luck against Saskatoon. They're a great program, but you guys run a good one down here in southern Saskatchewan. Thanks for your time. Best of luck.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ballsy.
Welcome back inside the Ballsy Uncut studios. Michael Ball here, wherever you're consuming this show. I do appreciate it. Tell all your friends. Thanks to my sponsors, District Brewing. They're helping me put the billboard up there on Sass Drive near the stadium. The Our Balls Are Bigger billboard to promote the post-game show, which we do after every Rider game. It's not just a post-game show for Rider fans. It's just a post-game show at large, but it just happens to be after Rider games. I'm going to be joined by former Blue Bomber, Rider, Packer, Seahawk, Elk. That would be our own John Ryan, only Saskatchewan kid to win a Super Bowl. He's going to join me as a guest host on the post-game show right after the Riders and the Tiger Cats game. Speaking of that, the Riders had their first practice back after opening the season, 2-0, their first road win in Hamilton since 2018. First win on the road east of Alberta since 2021. So they're off to a decent start. I wouldn't say they beat 2 powerhouses in Edmonton and Hamilton, but you can only play the people on your schedule. Coming up here, we'll hear from their outstanding offensive coordinator, a friend of mine, Mark Mueller, who I think is a great head coach in waiting. His weapons were back on the field today, albeit working out lightly, just a walkthrough. Sean Bain Jr., who left in that game in the first half, and Jarvis Sturge, who took a big hit at the end of the game, keeping the drive alive with a big catch. He got tattooed by Stavros Katsatonis. So he was at practice today. Philip Blake is out. The coach, Corey May, says it's a long-term injury, a quad injury. So that's not very good news. But what is good news is their GM, Jeremy O'Day, signed Sevier in the offseason. Ryan Sevier, who came into week number 1 to replace Logan Furlan when he got kicked out, then came in to replace Blake when he got hurt, has already proven valuable. He is now drawing in. Peter Godber didn't practice today. Neither did Jamarcus Hardrick. And AJ Ouellette was there, but they said DNP did not participate. Who knows what the heck that means anymore? Anyway, I'm sure that's much ado about nothing. Still lots of great tickets available if you want to go to that Riders Tiger Cats game. Yeah, the Edmonton Oilers did it, just like I said they would. People said I was batshit crazy. You're nuts, Ballsy. I said, no. They went down 3-0, but it didn't feel like a 3-0 series deficit to me. They had outplayed the Panthers for a lot of those games, for good chunks of those games. And so I thought they could come back, and they are going to drag it back to Florida. They dragged Florida back to Edmonton. They're going to take them back to Florida for Game 7. Florida might as well not even fly to Edmonton. Just forget it. Forget it. Forget it. The Oilers are going to absolutely win that Game 6 and force a Game 7. I would almost bet my house on it. No, I would bet my house on it. The Oilers are going to win that game. I said it all along. I'm sticking with it. So it's time we play this. Let's do this. Oh, yeah. Y arriba, y arriba. Gotta love it, yeah. So play La Bamba, baby. That's the Oilers' tradition because of Ben Stelter, of course, last year. Willie Mays passing away at the age of 93. He started in the Negro Leagues before joining the Giants in 1950. When he retired in 73, retired with 660 homers, 3,283 hits, won a World Series, and served in the U.S. Army for 2 years. They asked him in a 2022 documentary, hey, Willie, are you the best player ever?
Are you Willie Mays, the greatest baseball player of all time?
I don't do that. So many things happen with me on the baseball field that I could just look back and just replay every moment. I never had a day where somebody would not come up and say, I saw you make a play, I love you because of what you did for me, and it made me feel very, very proud because not only did I play baseball for the people, they enjoyed what I did.
And they should have, because you are the best baseball player that ever played, Willie Mays. My two favorite are Tony Gwynn and Ken Griffey Jr., but he's the best baseball player of all time, in my opinion. And check this out. Eating cheese may help you live a long and happier life. So says a article, I think it was USA Today. Now, you don't have time to read any articles online. I get it. You're very busy. So my production staff has summed it up for you in 30 seconds. Cheese.
Cheese. You know it's a great source of protein and calcium. Cheese. But it's also high in saturated fat and salt. Cheese. Which means eating too much could lead to high cholesterol. Cheese. And increase your risk of cardiovascular disease. Cheese. But a new study out says happy people live longer. Cheese. Guess what? We're all gonna die anyways. Cheese. So do you want to be healthy, depressed, and neurotic? Cheese. Or be happy, enjoy a nice Gouda and a long life? Cheese.
So basically, here's the deal. If you don't like cheese or bacon, which everybody should like, then you eat body parts. You eat body parts. Cheese, you gotta love cheese. Now I'll have a whole bunch of complaints, but guess what? I don't care. Coming up next, Mark Mueller, OC of the Saskatchewan Roughriders and friend of the program. This is Ballsy Uncut. There he is, my buddy, Mark Mueller. I said all along, this guy should be an offensive coordinator in the league. Some people last year was like, oh, come on. We need a veteran guy. Well, Mark Mueller, you've done a pretty good job so far. Congratulations on a 2-0 start. I know you won't take all the credit, but it's nice to be off to a 2-0 start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it started the year, you said you're 2-0, we would all take it. It's a good problem to have. We have lots of things we got to clean up, offensively, and that's why we practice, and hopefully that the guys have been put in a really, they've been putting in lots of work. I've been really impressed with this group, and it was no different today, and I'm sure it'll be no different tomorrow.
Okay, so your parents would ship you off there to hang out with your grandpa in Hamilton. Okay, I don't know if you get a chance to stop and smell the roses. Obviously, not when you're in a game, but. It was kind of a nostalgic weekend with the 99 team in there. Just talk about that. And did you have a chance to really pause, maybe even for a second after the game, and what a cool experience that all was for you?
It was pretty cool. I kind of didn't think of it until my dad and my mom and my wife, we have a group chat or whatever, and they sent a couple of the videos that they showed, like the one of me as a kid, the gum falls out of my mouth and I throw it back in. That was good. But everything kind of just worked out kind of perfectly. When they did the 99 reunion in 2019, we had looked into going. We couldn't, obviously, because I was working in Calgary at the time. And then, Danny Mac got put on the wall in 2000, I think 21 or 22, and then Darren Flutie got put in. And if we could have made any of those, I would have tried to go. So this year, to be able to work in the game, be in the game with the Riders, and be at the same hotel over there at the Moxies at the Sandman there, and I haven't seen some of those guys in 20 or 25 years. Like I got to see Carl Coulter, who I hadn't seen since his last game as a Ticats. So that was really special for me because those guys, I mean, they were so good to me. The guy was kind of like the annoying little nephew or little brother type thing. And Those guys, I'm obviously very grateful because I had the best childhood any kid could ever ask for, and those guys were a very big part of it.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of that, as you grew up, I just literally had Walby on the show. He said, "Say hi to Pissant." He goes, so where does that nickname come from, Pissant?
Well, I think it's because he couldn't say anything worse to me because I was like 12. Like he couldn't say the F word or anything like that. But man, I was awesome. So when he worked at CBC, my dad Larry was the spotter, and I would be the runner, is what it was called. So me and my buddy Johnny was he had the hardest job. So he was the runner on the field. So he would run drinks and hot dogs all around the stadium. I was just in charge of the talent, as they call them, right? I was in charge of the guys on tape. So I was in charge of, even at 12 or 13, trying to get Walby beer for after the game or hot dogs at halftime and things like that. So it was, and I would travel the odd game, if it was a playoff game, because, Larry would do the playoff games for CBC as well. So if it was in the West, me and Larry, and actually even Tom Shepard from time to time, we would travel to him, and it was lots of fun. I know Chris Walby still try to stay in touch as much as we can, and I know he calls and talks to my old man more often than me, but I just hope that Walby this summer blows out his he always freezes his pipes at his cottage every single fall. So hopefully he doesn't forget that again for like the 20th straight year.
He probably will, because literally in the middle of the interview, he couldn't remember 3 or 4 guys' names like Charles Roberts and everything like that. He dropped his camera, had to pick it up and refocus it and everything. So that is Chris Walby. He'll forget again for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, let's talk about a couple of those stud receivers. How about Stearns? Small guy. He has kind of a Dressler about him, including toughness. Talk about that big catch on the game-tying drive there.
I mean, Stearns is one of those guys that does everything right. He doesn't not a man of a lot of words, but he does all the things you ask. He does them to the best of his ability. He's in the right place at the right time. Works incredibly hard, and he's tough. I mean, to be that size and to get to this level, you have to be tough, and he is. And to lay it out there on a 2nd and 17 over the middle with the free safety staring at you, first off, for Trevor to have the confidence to throw it to you, it means you've earned it, and to make that play is it's really the play that got us going there at the end of the game. He's been very good for us, and I look forward to see how he does tomorrow practice and then Sunday again versus Hamilton.
Sean Bain Jr. looks like he's emerging as a star in this league. You got a little bit nicked up last game. I understand it's not too bad, but just talk about him and his evolution.
Yeah, I mean, I know Sean from his first couple of years in Calgary as well. So I was the running back coach and the quarterback coach when he was there, and Sean just has a different gear. He's a really speed guy and quick guy. There's not a lot of guys that are both. Sometimes you're a little quicker than fast or faster than quick. No long striders, and Sean is both. So when he's on the field, you got to account for him, whether it's underneath or over the top. And he just continues to build himself. And the more that we can move him around, the better it is for everybody.
Sean Bain, check that. Kean Schaefer-Baker with his first multi-touchdown game. He does pose some. He's not the fastest guy, but he's big, he's strong, and he runs good routes.
Yeah, he's big, long strider. He's faster than deceivingly fast. He can get behind the defense, strong hands, and he's tough. He blocks lots for us as well, right? He plays a position where you got to be able to catch the ball over the middle, and you got to be able to block defensive linemen in the run game. And he was excited when I talked to him when I got the job in December. He was excited to play in that spot, and he's taken advantage of it.
One more receiver I want to talk about. We know Amelis is great. He's going to continue to be great. Joe, a guy you guys picked up in the 7th round. He was highly touted coming out of high school, out of Alberta, went to Clemson. Not so much in the testing, although sometimes we read too much into testing. But your thoughts so far, 5-catch performance from him.
Yeah, I mean, he, as part of being a professional, is that you have to be ready to go in at any position. So if you're on the active roster, you got to know 5 or 6 positions. That's just on the side of the ball that you play. I mean, that doesn't count special teams. So for a guy who's a rookie, and he's a young rookie, like Joe might still be 21. Like he's quite young, 21 or 22, but one of them. Yeah. And for him to step in, play a position, get thrown in there, playing slot back, he's played both slots, just to go in there and not have any mental bus. That's a big deal. So hopefully he continues to grow, and we're fortunate to have a really good receiver room, and all those guys are just a part of it.
Every offensive line in this league walks a fine line with injury. You guys had a big one with Phillip Blake, but I think Ryan Sevier's signing has really come to pass. It's paid off early with Ferland getting kicked out unceremoniously in the first game, and then, of course, he had to step in here in a pinch and did a pretty good job by all accounts.
Yeah, I mean, Seves is a starter. I mean, he's another starter. He's not many guys you could go into the season with as a 6th man. That I think Seves started over 40 games before he got here, right? So 19, 21, 22, 23, started, I think, every game in Calgary. So, it's great to have a guy like Seves. I mean, those guys play well together. It's a good room. I think it'll continue to grow and get better. And those other younger guys have an opportunity to continue to grow, and when they'll be ready when their number is called as well.
A couple more quick questions for you, then I'll let you go. It's a busy time for you. Any concerns about the running game? There's been a lot of talk about that. Can't seem to get Ouellette going. Just from your vantage point from the booth, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think, obviously we'd all like for it to be a little bit more productive. But it just seems like it's just one thing off here and one thing off there. I think we're going to continue to work hard to get it going. It makes it easier on the passing game for sure. But just got to get AJ some space. AJ will make the first guy miss. We'd rather the first guy be at the second level or third level than right at the line of scrimmage. So we got to try to help him as much as we can. The guys are working hard. We're all working hard. So sometimes the scheme is off a bit. They're loading the box, or we're just not as thick on the guy as we need to be. But it's improving, and we hope that our best showing is Sunday.
I said I'd ask this question on behalf of Walby. I like to address you by your name, Mark Mueller, not Pissant. But he said, ask Pissant this. He said, ask him why we don't have a Thunder and Lightning. Can't we see Hickson in the backfield? Just kind of a change of pace. So I'll throw that to you. Has that been contemplated? What's going on with that?
Yeah, I mean, the way the roster race breaks out every week is a little bit different. I know we're very confident if Frankie goes in there, just like we're very confident if it's Thomas Bertrand-Hudon in there or the Rat Dog. I mean, any of those guys can go in there and carry the ball. So we'll try to, get whoever's out there as much space as we can. And, I think Walby's probably looking back to the old Winnipeg days where they had, was it Sellers and Charles Roberts? He would have forgot both of the names, but that's who I'm sure he was referencing.
Actually, those are two names he didn't he didn't get Roberts, but he got Sellers for sure.
Yeah.
No, man, you're right on the money there. Hey, so we talk about adjustments, halftime adjustments. Are those overrated? Because I'd like to get inside your mind for a quick second. You guys, how do I put this? It was kind of slow starting in Edmonton, but in the fourth quarter, you lit it on fire. Same thing here. You had 7 first downs in the first half. On your first 2 drives of the second half, you had 7 first downs. Are you making halftime adjustments? Are those overrated? What are you seeing to be able to change things up?
No, I don't think that when you say halftime adjustments, I think you make adjustments the whole game. I mean, I think you have to, there's very few teams in the league where you get the same stuff all the time, but so you got to understand there's a feeling outpour in that first 2-3 drives. And then you got to try to figure out, okay, where are they going? What are they showing? Where are they going next? And, you hope that you understand where they're going to go and you're right, things like that. So I think there's a feeling out period. I think there's adjustments. There is halftime adjustments for sure, but there's also adjustments in between drives, in between this, hey, we ran this, okay, now this should be there. You're always constantly trying to, set up plays or see, hey, this is there. Oh, it's not here. Scratch that one. This one's here. Injury, this plays out, things like that. So it's a constant adjustment. Halftime, you just get more time. So there's more highlights to them. You can do more adjustments, but there is, constantly, but after every drive, there's adjustments.
Has there been one eye opener for you as the guy now that you didn't expect?
As the play caller and then the coordinator?
Yeah.
One thing, I think that just is that it's time. It does take a lot of time to do all this stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm very fortunate to have a really understanding and great wife that understands that 7 months of the year, she's unfortunately, or maybe for my kids, fortunately a single mother. So, so I'm, we're here all the time. I'm really lucky and fortunate that we got, 3 assistants that are, that we work hand in hand, the 4 of us, the 4 corners there. We got Ed and Anthony and Mark Way. So I'm very grateful to those guys for sure.
And lastly, I really like your dad, Larry Mueller, but he tells me how to do my job. Okay.
Nice.
Does he tell you how to do your job?
I don't know. I don't listen to him most of the time. So no, actually Larry doesn't, that kind of stuff. He'll ask questions, but he never really has. Football, he's never questioned me. Even when he was my coach, he didn't question me very often. Football, everything else in life, yes. Whether I was selling beer at Molson or, working for Bacardi or driving or anything like that, he'll question me on that stuff. But football, he usually veers away and has since I was very young.
And lastly, I'll slip one more in here. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Your grandpa is the all-timer here. He's got a statue out front. Do you have to block out the noise, or how do you go about your day here? Because you're royalty, man.
I think that stuff's pretty cool, actually. I mean, it's awesome. And not many people can walk to the place where they work and there's a shrine to someone in their family. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think it's cool because I was always taught by him, you might not live there anywhere, but you can never forget where you came from. And he never forgot that he came from Clarendon, Pennsylvania. That's why he liked when he went back to Hamilton, because it reminded him of Steeltown. Mm-hmm. And so for myself, whether I was living here or in Calgary the past 10 years, it was always important for me and my family to understand where we came from. And he's the reason we're in Regina, right? No, maybe we'd still be in Clarendon or something like that, right? So it's pretty cool that my kids, they'll never get to meet him, but they get to understand, how we got here and where we came from.
Folks, you just heard it and saw it there. That guy's a bright mind. And I told Trevor Harris, I said, you're going to like this guy. And now he's all over saying, this guy's the brightest football mind. I said, see, Ballsy, contrary to popular belief, Ballsy does know what the hell he's talking about. Hey, best of luck here against the Tiger Cats, okay?
Thanks, Ballsy. Appreciate you having me on.
What's up, guys? Nathan here from Boys Next Door Window Cleaning. Today we're out at Katepwa Lake doing some deluxe window cleaning on a beautiful cabin here. We just finished up the windows, so now we're getting started on this Suncoast sunroom. Just a screen enclosure today, so just cleaning the screens. Landon's outside doing the scrubbing. I'm inside scrubbing as well, and then we're going to rinse them off, put some sealant on, and they're going to look great. So tag along and check it out.
Yeah, those kids do a great job. Nathan and Landon and their crew, Boys Next Door window cleaners. I think they're into their 8th year, if I'm not mistaken. Doing a great job. Check them out, and they'll keep your windows fresh and sparkling so you can see to the outside world. All right. I want to thank a couple of other of our sponsors. Super Squeeze Seltzer from District Brewing in liquor stores. This is Passion Fruit Lime. Oh, don't want to drop that there. Thank God it's not open yet. I'll celebrate the show after. And this one is Mango Lime. They're in Saskatchewan liquor stores. And I want to thank them for getting on board and help sponsor the show and the billboard, which is up on Sask Drive right now. So if you're in town, if you're a Regina resident, you'll see it on Sask Drive. If you're coming for the game, head west on Sask Drive. You'll see the billboard. It's the Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show. John Ryan will join me after the Rider game to take your calls or chat messages, and we'll break down the Riders Tiger Cats game. Chris Walby's agreed now to come on the show and host a few times. I've got some others in the stable like Tyron Brackenridge, and Getzlaff says he's going to, and a couple of others. Mike McCullough. So we got a great stable here going to help me in the fastest growing post-game show in Canada. Our balls are bigger. It's uncensored. You can say basically, you can call it like you see it within reason. That's what we do around here. It's kind of refreshing. Also want to thank Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue. You want tires, you want customer service like none other in the tire business, go check out Michael Barth and the gang there, 101 Dudney Avenue. Also, don't pay for 90 days. They've got, you can maintain your vehicle on a budget. It's not cheap, especially with inflation here, to keep up with everything. Cars, though, vehicles, work vehicles, whatever, machinery, that's not easy to do, not cheap, and they will they'll hook you up with a payment plan. So go check them out, Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue. And you want to watch those guys, the Edmonton Oilers, in game number 6 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Go to Stats, Cocktails and Dreams and Cravings on Victoria Avenue East. Thanks to Jason and Mia for getting on board. Yeah, I used to love their dad, Mia's dad, Mr. D. Tim says he can't wait to see the billboard Sunday. Yeah, go check it out. This is Craig Smith. Every play, they should have end zone camera to see the line of scrimmage, referring to what Chris Walby had to say. This is from Jim. He goes by Jeem, BC Lions fan. First time this week I've had a chance to watch the show. Ballsy, love your current studio setup. Yeah, it's a work in progress. We're working with the lights and everything like that. So we're figuring it out. Come on, Ballsy. McDavid, get a grip. I said Connor McDavid's the greatest offensive player we've seen in NHL history. Maybe not in terms of points, but in terms of the talent he brings to the ice. He does it at such high speed. Let's be honest. Crosby was great. Gretzky was great. Lemieux was great. They're all great. I love them all. Gretzky's my second favorite Oiler of all time. Messier, Gretzky, and then McDavid. But give me a break. When that guy's on the ice, it reminds you of Adam or Pee Wee hockey, you know, when that one guy was so much better than everybody else. When NHL defensemen are not skating backwards, they're turning and skating with you and then turning at the last second. You know the guy's at a different level. Let me remind you of this stat, okay? And we don't have goalies wearing Sears catalogs. When Gretzky played and Lemieux played, let's be honest, nobody back-checked. Gretzky's move at the blue line where he would come in and do a little pirouette and then pass it over, that wouldn't happen very much anymore because they never back-checked back then, okay? And yeah, I get it. It's a different time. They came to training camp to get in shape. Now these guys are training all year long, better sticks, better everything. And maybe Gretzky, maybe with all that equipment, he would have been better. But they were stand-up goalies, Sears catalogs for pads. I mean, what would McDavid have done back then? Really serious. And, Gretzky holds all the great records. There's going to be so many that are never broken. But to think he could break the 47 points in one playoff run is crazy. And let me remind you, there is a list of two guys who have had multi 4-point games in the Stanley Cup playoffs. One wore 99 for the Oilers, Gretzky. The other, McJesus, although this is a Nugent Hopkins jersey. McJesus is the other one. Now, there's only a list of one for guys that have had multi 4-point games consecutively in the Stanley Cup final. And we just witnessed it. Connor McDavid. So instead of whether you like the Oilers or not, whether you like McDavid or not, this is turning into an all-timer. Didn't look like an all-timer, but it's turning into an all-timer. The Oilers are going to win Game 6, and they're going to go back to Florida for Game 7. Just like I said on this show and to people in my inner circle after Game 3 when they lost 4-3. I thought they found something at the end of that game. Momentum doesn't carry over. Well, they win 8-1. Florida played well at the end. Listen, I expect another great game from Florida. They've got a great hockey team, but the Edmonton Oilers are going to win that game. And can you imagine? This series would already be over if Leon Draisaitl was 100%. No way Draisaitl is 100%. Not even close. He's actually a liability right now on the ice. I hate to say it, but he is. He helped them get this far because he was a stud in the first 2 rounds when McDavid seemed to be a little off in terms of goal scoring. But Leon Draisaitl seems to be a bit of a liability right now. He is hurt. If he was 100% or close to 100% or like he was playing in the first 2 rounds, this series would already be over and the Oilers would be hoisting the Stanley Cup. Now, they may not hoist the cup. Florida could still win in 7 games, but Florida is not winning in Game 6. This is going to be a wacko madhouse. It's over. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. And I've been pretty well correct here in this series. Florida's going to come out. The Oilers are going to be all jacked. Florida's going to get the first goal, maybe even the first 2 goals. Edmonton will settle it down and win either 3-2 in an overtime goal or 4-2 going away. And then we'll be going back to Florida. Anyway, this has been a great show. Coming up on Friday, that's our next show. We are going to have Caleb Joseph, the former Major League catcher with the Jays and Orioles and Blue Jays broadcaster. He does some radio games, and he's a panelist too, or an analyst. He is our regular here talking baseball. He's going to join me on Friday, live from his home in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Taking Cuts with Caleb Joseph. We are also going to hear from Dave Jackson, the NHL rules analyst for ESPN. We're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's on our interview with Jeremy Roenick. He was supposed to join us today, but just couldn't make it work. So we're having JR here on Friday as well. And we'll also have a great CFL guest that I'm lining up too. So this is the place to come for CFL and 3 Down talk, obviously, but it's also the place to come talk any other sports. You name it, it's right here. Ballsy Uncut. And don't forget, we are going to have our Jim Hobson Amateur Athlete of the Year award this year. We'll have hardware, some gift certificates, and this autographed book. Jim autographed a whole bunch of books before he passed away from me. He was tickled pink to know that this would be something that would be living, in history. I don't know how long this podcast is going to go, but I hope it goes a while because he signed a bunch of books. So this is going to be the first ever Amateur Athlete of the Year award. And I'll start taking submissions here towards the start of fall. All right. That'll do it for today's show. If you missed it, it'll be in podcast form a little later on, wherever you get your podcast. Still waiting for Apple. Apple, you have to actually have a podcast, and then it takes a 3-week process. You can't start the process before, so that's why there's no Apple, but it is on Spotify, iHeart, I think YouTube Music, Google Play. We've got it for you to consume, and this has been a great show. Chris Walby, just that interview alone. Mark Mueller was great, and Chris Hattis, coach of the Regina Riots. I'm Michael Ball, better known as Ballsy. Take care and tell all your friends. This is the place to be for your sports consumption, especially as it relates to the CFL.